I've made this statement many times that Iran doesn't want to end this war until they inflict enough damage to deter any future war. But it's hard to really tell how much success, though, the US is having. Obviously, CENTCOM will put out reports that they've destroyed, or especially Israel, 70-80% of the missile launchers. Iran would say, no, that's not the case because they have them on the ground. Seeing the amount of bombs that were dropped on the country, the amount of targets that were hit as well, and how the amount of missiles being fired have dropped significantly, even more than the 12-day war, about 95% drop. Is it fair to say that their missile launching capabilities have been degraded, but their drone manufacturing capabilities are still there, and that is their best bet to keep the Strait of Hormuz shut, to keep striking the Gulf, as we're seeing right now with the alert I just got? We saw the Oman, one of the ports in Oman that was burning today. I'm sure you've seen that. These type of scenes you don't expect to see in the Gulf, and they continue to achieve that through their drones. They don't really need their missiles in today's age.
No, I don't agree with that. I think that they have undoubtedly lost launchers. The dramatic degradation that you're talking about, I question, because every time somebody talks about the degradation, they launch Khorram Shah 2 or 3 missiles with 1,000-pound warheads that then devastate the target wherever it is. I think what you're seeing today is that they have very precise weapons. If they fire at something, they're going to hit it. It's the exact opposite of what President Trump said the other day when he said, well, they're not very accurate. Nothing could be further from the truth. They're extremely accurate. And they don't have to fire as many missiles as they previously did to reach the target. And remember, they also fired a lot of missiles at the beginning of this thing in order to deplete the arsenal of anti-missile missiles, which were in Israel and the Gulf Emirates and states, as well as with the Navy at sea. And I think they've succeeded. I mean, I'm sure that we are getting close to the bottom. This is before we reload in great numbers. We started, I think, with roughly 8,000 missiles. I don't know where we are now. The Iranians started with 45,000 missiles. There's no evidence that they're about to run out. But what we're seeing are the best, the most accurate and devastating weapons. And I got to tell you that the engineers that I've spoken to here, and I've spoken previously to engineers in Israel that warned about this, I didn't understand at the time. This was back in 2020. But the engineers are saying that the achievements of the Iranians in missile technology are dramatic. They're impressive as hell. And everything they hit, they've devastated. Now we're shipping, as you know, a THAAD radar, and I presume more THAAD missiles and launchers to Israel. I wonder what
from South Korea.
What?
From South Korea. You're talking about the ones they pulled out of South Korea. Yeah.
Yeah. So I think our position is a little less robust than President Trump and his administration would like us to believe. And I think the Iranians are being very careful now. They're looking at battle damage. They're examining it with drone footage, but also with satellite imagery. And they are now hitting things with a very specific purpose to fundamentally eliminate capabilities. I think they're also holding back to see what will happen in the near future. In other words, if we are stupid enough to attack Karg Island, which we've threatened to do, then they will launch, I think, everything that you can imagine against the oil infrastructure in the Gulf. They will, of course, push back any sort of restoration of the oil infrastructure for years. So I don't think that Iran is in a particularly bad shape. I think they've lost a lot of hospitals. They've lost schools. We've done a horrendous damage to Tehran. There's no question about it. But again, you know, this is Persia. This country's been around for 2,700 years. It's not going anywhere. It has no intention of surrendering or capitulating. Anybody who thinks so is crazy. And I think we bet very heavily on this business of internal uprising and revolt and readiness to throw out whoever is in charge. I think if we had stayed out and not bombed, perhaps by the fall of this year, we would have seen a different government. I think the Iranians are ready to move beyond the old Islamic Republic. All we've done is slow it down. We've retarded that development. I think it'll still happen at some point. but we've made it harder on the country to do what it would have done naturally without our interference. But here's the key. No matter who comes to power now, Mario, will hate us. We've done enormous damage. We are not going to have a friend in that country for a very, very long time.